When a CEO's mute daughter met a boy who signed, a devastating truth unfolds at the peel. The playground was alive with laughter, but for Mia, it was a world of silence. The pristine swings and colorful slides became her sanctuary, yet not a single soul comprehended her isolation. Mia was 7, blonde curls cascading down her back, her blue eyes scanning the environment, searching, longing. It was here in this slice of joy that she met Jason, a boy with a smile that lit up the drab gray of her life. But there was a twist. He wasn't just any boy. He signed. His hands danced through the air, forming shapes that beckoned her closer, entrancing her with a language all their own. Though Mia couldn't hear, she felt the rhythm of his laughter through the way his face glowed. Each sign was a spark, igniting a hope in her heart. Could he understand her? Could he be her friend? But just as Mia was beginning to believe in the extraordinary, a shadow passed over the sun-soaked playground. Her father, CEO of a bustling tech firm, strode across the grass with confidence, fierce determination etched into his features. Fear squeezed at Mia's chest. Why was he here? He never came to pick her up. Not like this. Suddenly, she caught snippets of heated whispers behind her. Did you hear about the accident? I heard kids were involved. One of them the girl? She asked the CEO's daughter. Panic rippled through the crowd, eyes darting her way, mixing intrigue and pity. Mia's heart raced. They knew who she was. They were talking about her. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. A shout pierced the air, followed by the unmistakable thud of a falling child. Mia's breath hitched as she turned towards the commotion. It was Jason, lying on the ground, his hand grasping the grass as if trying to pull himself up. Her eyes met his, a silent plea passing between them. He was in pain, and she could do nothing but watch as the world closed in around him. As chaos erupted, Mia felt an electric connection to Jason, something deeper than just friendship. Was it possible that they were linked in ways they couldn't even fathom? Her father's arm reached out, gripping her shoulder tightly, but she lifted her chin defiantly, refusing to look away. An unexplainable truth began to unfurl inside of her. What had been kept from her all this time? And as the sirens in the distance grew louder, the questions mounted in her mind. Who was Jason, really? Why had they crossed paths on this fateful day? The answers danced just out of reach, swirling in the air like the autumn leaves that fell around them, waiting to be caught. Mia gasped as her father's grip tightened, pulling her back just as Jason struggled to rise, his face contorted in agony. The laughter that once filled the playground faded into a distant echo, replaced by the wailing of sirens that cut through the air like a knife. Panic gripped her heart, icy fingers wrapping around it mercilessly. She could feel the weight of the crowd's stares, their whispers pooling around her like dark water. Stay close. Her father barked as though she were in danger. From who? From what? It was difficult to think. All that mattered was Jason. With shaky breaths, Mia watched as adults rushed to Jason's side, their worried faces carved with concern. He needs help. She wanted to scream, but the sound wouldn't come. Instead, she pressed her palms against her ears, blocking out the sirens, the voices, the chaos. Suddenly, a firm voice broke through her fog. It belonged to a woman, kneeling beside Jason, her hands intersecting with the signs Jason had been using moments before. Jason, can you hear me? What's wrong? Mia watched, fascinated, as he attempted to sign back, though his movements were slow and pained. It was like watching the shadows of a story that was meant to be told, an unsettling, not twisted inside Mia. Why did she feel so connected to this boy? Before she could ponder further, her father was murmuring frantic words to a passing police officer, gesturing wildly. It's too chaotic. Mia heard him say, I don't want the press here. Press? It sent a cold shiver through her. Why would anyone want reporters invading their lives? The last thing she needed was more of the spotlight that made her feel so alone. Suddenly, Jason's eyes darted toward Mia. Fear mingled with desperation, And in that instant, Mia felt a shared understanding, a bond that seemed to transcend words. She stumbled forward, her heart racing, but her father pulled her back harshly. Mia, no? The command marked a line in the sand between her father's authority and her yearning to get closer to Jason. She wrestled momentarily against her father's grip. She caught a glimpse of Jason sprawling on the ground, confusion etching his face. What was happening? Why was he looking at her like that? An ambulance arrived, its lights flashing, casting erratic shadows. The paramedics jumped out, rolling a gurney towards Jason, but Mia felt trapped in a spiral of dread. All at once, she felt as if Jason was slipping away into a world beyond her grasp, a world where she couldn't follow. "Please, don't take him away," she mouthed, even though no sound escaped her lips. It was the cry of her heart, raw, painful. Jason caught her eyes again, and for a fleeting moment, she thought she saw a spark of recognition. But as they rushed him into the ambulance, an unsettling realization squirmed within her. She needed to figure out what tie bound them together, something hidden beneath the surface of this chaotic day. Just then, a figure emerged from the throng. A woman with sharp features and an air of authority strode towards Mia, her eyes locked on the girl with unwavering intensity. "There's something you need to know," she said, her voice a low whisper filled with urgency. Mia felt her heart pound once more, fear cascading through her. What revelation awaited her? What truth loomed just on the horizon, ready to shatter everything she believed? But before the woman could speak again, the sound of the ambulance doors slamming shut sucked the air from around them. Was it too late to uncover the mystery? The pulsing questions hung heavy in the space between them, drowning out everything else. Who was Jason really? And would Mia find the answers before it was too late? The sound of the ambulance fading into the distance felt like a hollow echo in Mia's chest. She stared at the space where Jason had just been, hoping he'd somehow reappear, his smile bright as ever. Yet the silence that followed pressed down on her, heavy as a stone. The woman's presence loomed like a shadow, her intensity almost frightening. "Listen to me, Mia," she urged, stepping closer, her eyes searching Mia's with a fierce determination. "What you just witnessed is part of something much bigger. You have to understand." Mia's heart raced. "Who are you?" The question slipped out, desperate and shaky. "Not important right now," the woman replied, her voice low, nearly trembling. "What matters is Jason. There's something you need to know about him, a secret that connects the two of you. It's not just coincidence that you felt that bond." Mia took a step back, grappling with the wild rush of emotions. Her father, furious and frantic, was lost within the crowd, barking commands that only seemed to deepen the chasm between them. The whispers surrounding them grew louder, buzzing with rumors, but the woman stood as a calm center amid the chaos. "What do you mean?" The words were barely out before a pang of fear gripped Mia. "What secret?" The woman hesitated, her gaze darting beyond Mia, scanning the ominous figures among the onlookers. "He's not just a boy. Something happened to him yesterday. It's linked to what you're feeling. But we don't have time. You must find him." Mia's chest tightened. "Find him? But he's in the hospital. I can't just go. I can help you. They won't let you see him. Not unless you find a way to get past them." The woman reached out, grasping Mia's shoulders firmly. "You can't let fear stop you. The truth is more important than you know." Mia felt the weight of the woman's grip, both grounding and unsettling. "What are you saying?" As if sensing the air around them shift, the woman released her, stepping back with a sense of urgency. "If you really want to understand the bond you feel, you must act. Learn who he is, not just who he seems. You're tied to his fate." Before Mia could respond, the woman slipped away, disappearing into the crowd as quickly as she had appeared. Confusion mixed with frustration coiled within Mia, competing against a rising sense of purpose. Could she really find answers? Looking back towards the spot Jason had occupied just moments before, her resolve crystallized into something powerful. This wasn't just about Jason anymore. It was about something deeper, something that pulled her closer to a truth she couldn't quite name. As she turned towards her father, newly emboldened, she felt a strange flutter of hope in the pit of her stomach. Would she have the courage to chase after those shadowy truths? With her heart pounding, Mia sprinted towards the hospital, a determination igniting her steps. She had to see Jason. She had to understand. But as she crossed the street, a familiar face loomed in front of her, the police officer her father had been speaking to earlier. The glare that fell upon Mia chilled her to the bone. "Where do you think you're going?" he barked. The urgency in the air shifted. Mia opened her mouth to protest, but words failed her. She was caught, trapped at a crossroads of fear and curiosity. Could she escape enough to uncover the truth? And what if the price for that truth was higher than she had ever imagined? Mia felt the world tilt beneath her feet. The officer's voice thundered in her ears, drowning out the chaos around them. Her thoughts raced. This was the barrier she had to overcome. She'd been given a mission, a purpose that couldn't be ignored. "Let me go? I need to see Jason," she shouted, her voice wavering against the weight of authority. The officer's expression shifted slightly, surprise flickering in his eyes. For a brief moment, she saw the man beneath the badge, the human who might understand her urgency, her desperation. But then, his face hardened again like stone. "Your father wouldn't want you to get involved," he snapped, crossing his arms. "There's nothing for you to see." His dismissal hit Mia like a slap, sparking the fire in her chest. "I don't care what he wants. This is about Jason." She could feel the heat rising in her cheeks. "You don't understand, something's wrong. He needs me." "Enough," the officer barked, stepping closer. The intensity made Mia's heart skitter. "You need to back off and let the professionals handle this." A crowd had gathered, faces filled with fear and curiosity. Mia noticed the judging looks, the whispers exchanged like darts thrown her way. "Please just let me through," she begged, a lump in her throat. "I can help him." Just then, a flash of red caught Mia's eye, a hospital gown sticking out from the anonymous figures. In an instant, instinct took over. Without thinking, she darted to the left, ducking under the officer's outstretched arm, her heart racing. She could hear him shouting behind her, but she didn't dare look back. The world around her blurred as she rushed past startled onlookers, their faces morphing into a wave of sound and color. Focused only on the hospital entrance ahead, Mia didn't notice how close she was to breaking their hold. The hospital loomed larger as she raced closer. Its sterile smell wrapped around her, somehow both a comfort and a horror. She knew that behind those walls, Jason lay injured, but also there were secrets that the woman had hinted at, truths woven tightly through their lives. Pushing through the glass doors, the bustle of the ER enveloped her like a blanket. The fluorescent lights were stark and unforgiving, illuminating the fear in the eyes of waiting families. "Excuse me," she cried, forcing her way past the reception desk. "I need to see Jason." He was brought in. The nurse behind the desk looked up, eyes wide. "You can't just..." Mia cut her off, desperation clawing at her insides. "Please. He is my friend. I have to know he is okay." Before the nurse could respond, a commotion erupted farther down the hallway. Sirens blared, and the clinical atmosphere was shattered. Mia's eyes darted to the source of the noise, a group of doctors rushing a patient with urgency. Panic set in again. What if it was Jason? Her heart sank as fear crawled over her skin. "Excuse me," she shouted, moving toward the chaos. But another figure stepped in front of her, an imposing man in a suit, his expression dark. "You need to leave. This is not safe," he commanded, authority dripping from his words. "I need to talk to Jason," Mia insisted, pushing past the man. He grabbed her arm, his grip firm like iron. "You're only going to get yourself in trouble. Trust me." Trouble. The word echoed in her mind like a warning bell. With adrenaline coursing through her, and the voices of those around her dimming under the weight of purpose, she twisted away from him. In a heartbeat, real fear hit her. What if she was too late? And then it dawned on Mia. The woman had spoken of a secret. If Jason was intertwined with her fate, she couldn't give up without fighting back. "Let go," she screamed, wrenching free, but the man didn't release her. Instead, he looked over her shoulder, eyes widening in shock. "Get down," he shouted just before everything shattered into chaos. Mia turned. Her heart stopped as she saw a dark figure looming in the hallway. What was happening? And suddenly, she knew this was just the beginning. Mia barely processed the command before instinct kicked in. She dropped to the ground, her heart pounding so hard it threatened to escape her chest. The world around her warped into a slow-motion nightmare. Several loud bangs echoed in the sterile hallway. Each shot splintered the air like glass, shattering a cacophony of chaos. Nurses shouted, family screamed, and fear pulsed through the emergency room like a living creature. From her position, Mia could see fragments of confusion unfold. The imposing man she had collided with turned, his face masked with an intensity she had never encountered before. He was not just a figure commanding order. He had become a protector, a leader amidst the chaos. He moved quickly, ushering people back, creating a zone of safety. Mia's breath was shallow, each inhale laced with the acrid scent of fear. She peeked around the corner of the corridor, her heart a drum in her ears. A security guard rushed into the fray, his face pale. He was yelling something, but the words were lost in the frenzy. All she wanted was Jason. Just the thought of him lying vulnerable fueled the fire in her chest. It was unbearable. "I need to get to him," she whispered fiercely to herself. A nurse rushed past her, her face lined with panic. "Lock the doors. Lock all the doors," she shouted, and Mia's heart seized. Then, the sharp retort of gunfire erupted again, and a cold wave of realization crashed down on Mia. This was real. The world she had fought through to get here was turned upside down in an instant, and she was trapped in the middle of a nightmare. Shadows flickered across the walls, the dark figure moving between the chaos, armed. Mia's heart raced in time with the chaos around her. Each pulse echoed her desperate need to find Jason. Suddenly, she saw him, the unmistakable flash of that familiar red gown, the sight striking her like a lightning bolt. He was being wheeled away on a gurney, eyes closed, unmoving. Panic lumped in her throat. "Jason!" she screamed, her voice more of a plea than a command. The imposing man shot a sidelong glance at her, his expression a blend of authority and concern. "Stay down. Don't move," he ordered, but Mia was already scrambling to her feet, ignoring the crushing weight of his warning. Instinct blinded her to the danger. She dashed forward, weaving past the chaos of bodies, desperate to reach the only person who kept her anchored in this storm. The closer she got, the more she could see the medical team working on him. "Jason," she called again, tears blurring her vision. There was no reply, just the rapid beeping of machines fighting against the silence. And then, a deafening silence enveloped the moment. The security guard who had scoured the area reappeared, breathless and frantic. "Everyone evacuate now," he barked, his voice shaking Mia to her core. Without thinking, she lunged toward the gurney, reaching out for Jason. But as she did, the ground shook with another shot, echoing off the walls clearer and more precise this time. "Get down," the man yelled again, rushing forward, taking charge. But in Mia's world, only one thing mattered now. She was too close to losing him. Time froze as the chaos spun on its axis. Mia's voice faded into the background, lost along with her last shred of hope. And then everything shifted again. The lights flickered harshly, plunging everything into darkness for a split second. In that moment of absence, a realization dawned on her, sharp and clear as glass. She couldn't rely on anyone else. She had to save Jason herself, no matter the cost. "I'll find a way," she whispered fiercely to the quiet around her as she braced for a mad chase into the unknown. But would it be enough? And then she felt the icy grip of inevitability. What awaited her was not just the threat of chaos, but the shadow of secrets that could bury them both. Mia pushed through the chaos, adrenaline coursing through her veins like fire. Time didn't exist in this blasted emergency room. It was just her, the sounds of gunfire ricocheting off the walls, and the image of Jason's lifeless form haunting her every thought. As she dashed forward, the imposing man momentarily blocked her path, his eyes fierce and determined. "You can't go out there. You'll get yourself killed," he shouted, his voice strained with urgency. She hated the authority in his tone, but deeper inside, she understood his fear. The world outside was full of threats, and she was tethered to Jason like a lifeline. "No time. I have to reach him," she yelled back, barely aware of the body count the gunman might be racking up behind her. Mia pushed past him, her desperation overwhelming all rational thought. She spotted a door to the surgical wing, its handle glimmering under the flickering lights. "Jason," she cried again, though she couldn't hear herself over the chaos. She was almost there, but when she turned toward the corridor, a man stepped into her line of sight, armed, fierce, and terrifying. What was she going to do? Her breath hitched in her throat, a lump of fear and disbelief. The man scanned the room, and she ducked between a pair of gurneys. Willing her body to silence, she held her breath, praying he would turn away. Her pulse thudded in her ears, drowning out every sound, every scream, every beeping machine. Through clenched teeth, she whispered, "Jason, please," but the air was too thick with dread. Every second she spent hiding felt like an eternity. She had to move. In a sudden burst of courage, she made a break for it, darting into the adjacent hallway. It was empty. Thank God. She took a moment to collect her thoughts, gaze darting around for any sign of hope. But it was a torturous silence, broken only by her gasping breaths. Then she heard a child's voice echoing from the surgical room. "Help! My brother! Help him!" Panic stirred inside her. The room was filled with chaos, but she could still hear that cry reverberate in her chest. With renewed determination, Mia plunged toward the surgical door. "I need to save him," she cried, pushing the door open and stumbling inside. Doctors surrounded Jason, their faces grim. Bright lights illuminated the bloodstains on his gown, and the sight slammed into her like a brick wall. "No, no," she shouted, forcing her way to the front. A doctor turned sharply, eyes filled with shock at her intrusion. "Get back. We're trying to stabilize him," he barked, but Mia couldn't step back now. This was Jason. Her Jason. Is he? She couldn't finish the question. "Get her out of here," someone shouted, but the world faded again. All she could see was the blood-soaked gurney. Her heart clutched tighter with each passing second, each frantic glance around. The walls felt like they were closing in. Suddenly, with a loud thud, the lights flickered out once more before plunging them into an even deeper darkness. Everything was thrown into pitch-black chaos again. Panic surged in her chest. She couldn't see anything. "Jason!" she screamed, her voice breaking. But before she could move or regain her bearings, a chilling sound rang out. The unmistakable sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate, emerged from the darkness, echoing, consuming. The hairs on the back of her neck prickled. "Who is there?" she managed to whisper, her heart racing. And then came the voice, a low, sinister whisper cutting through the darkness like a knife. "You shouldn't have come here, Mia." Mia froze. There was nowhere to hide, a predator lurking in the shadows, and she was the prey. A surge of dread enveloped her, clutching tight around her throat. What secrets had she stumbled into? Who was this voice? She had to find Jason. But at what cost? And as that chilling whisper settled in her stomach, a new question gnawed at her. What if reaching him only led her deeper into darkness? Mia's heart hammered in her chest, each beat echoing like a war drum in the suffocating darkness. The whisper still clung to the air, laced with malice, and she felt frozen, caught in a moment that stretched painfully. Jason was fighting for his life, and here she was, paralyzed by fear. With a great effort, she forced herself to breathe. "I want to be scared," she whispered fiercely, though doubt gnawed at her. She had come too far to turn back now. The footsteps closed in, deliberate and unhurried. Mia darted to the side, pressing her back against the cold, unforgiving wall of the surgical room. Her pulse raced faster as she tried to evoke the mental image of Jason's face. His smile, that glimmer of hope she refused to let go of. "Please, someone help me." A plaintive cry echoed again, puncturing through her fear. The child's voice. It was coming from the corner, where a figure was indistinct but struggling. Without thinking further, she darted toward it, desperate to find a way out of this nightmare. As she got closer, she realized it was a boy, maybe 8 years old, his small frame trembling in the dark. Tears streamed down his face, illuminated by the erratic flashes of emergency lights. "My brother. He needs a doctor." "I know," Mia said, crouching beside him. "I'm going to help." "What happened?" "He got shot in the head. They said he was dying." His body shook with fear, and it tore at Mia's heart. "They can't help him if they don't know he is here." "Wait here. I'll get someone." She turned to rush back, but the whispered warning echoed in her mind. She couldn't afford to be reckless, but she also couldn't abandon the boy. Suddenly, the lights flickered back on, casting harsh white beams through the surgical room. The brilliant glare nearly blinded her. "Get away from him." The authoritative shout sent a shock through her, and Mia whirled to face the source, a doctor rushing in with wide eyes. "No, he needs your help. Please." Mia's voice cracked with urgency, choking on fear. His brother tears blurred her vision, but the doctor's attention shifted to the dark corner where the boy hid. His face hardened, and then something shifted in his expression. I can't. Just then, the man from before, the one who had tried to stop her, appeared, moving swiftly into the surgical room with an intensity that made Mia's skin crawl. "We need to go," he barked, his eyes scanning wildly. "The shooter is still on the loose." "I can't leave the boy," Mia cried, frustration boiling over. "We don't have time, Mia. If we don't move now, we're dead." Panic surged through her veins. What choice did she have? Everywhere she looked, danger loomed. She felt chains of dread binding her to the spot. She was torn between staying and running. "Please, my brother." The boy's small voice quavered again, desperation weaving through his tone like an arrow. Time was running out, and every passing second felt like a lifetime. "Trust me," the man whispered, shifting closer, his own panic woven into his expression. "I can get you both out, but you have to promise to stay close to me, no matter what. Do you understand?" Mia looked at the boy, the flicker of hope shining brightly amid the horror. Could she really take that risk? Okay, she finally nodded. But before she could take action, a loud crash echoed from outside, followed by shouts that sent her heart racing again. "Stay low and move," the man shouted, crouching down. Mia grabbed the boy's hand tightly. Their escape had just begun, but at what cost? And as they darted out into the chaos, she wondered if she'd ever reach Jason in time. But the real question was looming over all of them. Who was really hunting them in the shadows? The moment of reckoning was close, and Mia held her breath for what awaited just around the corner. Mia pressed herself against the wall, the boy still holding her hand with a grip like iron. The noise outside was chaos. Gunfire crackled like thunder, punctuated by shouts of confusion. Nightmarish sounds blend with the distant wails of sirens. The man's eyes darted nervously as he led them toward a narrow exit at the far end of the room. "Keep your head down," he urged, his voice low but urgent. Mia nodded, instinctively lowering herself as they moved, the boy mimicking her actions with wide, terrified eyes. Suddenly, another loud crash echoed from the hallway, making Mia freeze. The man glanced back at her, his expression growing more frantic. "We need to go now?" They slipped through the door and found themselves in an empty corridor, sterile and devoid of life. The fluorescent lights flickered, casting eerie shadows that made the space feel even more haunted. The boy's grip tightened, and he glanced up at Mia with pleading eyes. "Where's my brother?" he whimpered, voice barely above a whisper. She felt a stab of guilt piercing through her chest. "I promise," she said, her voice trembling but resolute. "We'll get him. We just need to be safe first." Yet inside, she doubted every word. How could she promise safety when danger lurked in every corner? They hurried down the corridor, sneakers slapping against the cold tiles. The air felt charged, thick with fear and anxiety as they hurriedly passed rooms, a few still filled with the hollow echoes of frightened voices. The man looked right, then left, finally gesturing toward a set of stairs leading to the basement. "Down there. It's our best shot," he said urgently. With every step down, Mia's heart raced. Questions looped in her mind like a warning siren. Was Jason safe? Was anyone out there helping him? They descended into darkness, the only light coming from the exit sign overhead, a small beacon in the shadows. Suddenly, a loud crash jolted the stillness. Mia's stomach twisted. "What was that?" she gasped, panic setting in as the boy stiffened, eyes wide with terror. "Stay close," the man commanded, as they crouched in the dim light. From somewhere above, faint shouting rang out, indistinguishable yet filled with raw emotion. "Mia?" A familiar voice called out, echoing down the stairwell. It was Jason's voice. Relief washed over her like a wave. "Jason!" she screamed, lunging forward. But just as quickly, the man's hand held her back. "No, we can't." His grip was firm, but his voice trembled. "This isn't over." "What do you mean?" Mia felt fear pulsing through her again. "He is hurt. He needs us." "Think, Mia," he said fiercely. "The shooter could still be here." A booming sound cut him off, and suddenly the lights flickered off, plunging them into darkness. Panic wrapped around Mia like a suffocating blanket. The boy began to whimper softly, and she felt her resolve wavered. In the quiet, they all held their breath, listening intently. The air felt electric, charged with an impending threat. Just then, footsteps echoed up the stairs, heavy and deliberate. Mia's heart leaped into her throat as she turned to the boy, whose small face held a deep, unsettling terror. That silence it screamed for action. Then a clang followed by the unmistakable sound of a body collapsing. "Run!" the man shouted, his voice filled with urgency. Now, Mia dashed down the stairs, pulling the boy along as the threat grew closer. But in a split second of chaos, she glanced back and saw the man falter, caught between fear and duty. "Come on," she cried, desperation clawing at her gut. But before they could move further, a deafening bang reverberated through the stairwell, making the walls shake. Mia's heart sank. What had she walked into? As they reached the next level, she didn't know what awaited them. All she could do was hope. But hope felt fragile in those moments. Would they find safety, or was this just the beginning of something far more ruthless? With every step, questions loomed in her mind. Would they be able to escape? And what would they find waiting for them when they did? Mia stumbled into the dimly lit hallway, heart racing, pulling the boy along as urgency flooded her veins. The air was thick, stale with dread, and every creak of the building seemed amplified, echoing against the walls like a countdown. Behind them, the last echoes of that thunderous bang faded, leaving an unsettling silence that wrapped around them like a noose. "Which way?" she whispered, glancing back at the boy, whose face was pale against the shadows. His eyes were wide, a mix of fear and confusion. "Forward," he managed, his little voice shaking. Mia nodded, forcing herself to move quickly, pushing through the panic that threatened to consume her. They pressed on, turning a corner and skirting past doors that stood ajar, revealing darkened rooms filled with debris, remnants of lives interrupted by the chaos above. "Where's Jason?" the boy asked again, his voice rising like a plea to the void. "I don't know," Mia snapped, her fears spilling over into frustration. Why wasn't he here? It felt like the weight of the world rested on her shoulders, and every second they lost could be critical. "We have to keep moving." They reached another set of stairs, descending cautiously into the darker layers of the building. The flickering overhead light cast macabre shadows, making Mia's imagination run wild. Just below, a door creaked open, and Mia froze. "Please, hurry," the boy whispered, tugging at her sleeve. The urgency of his voice propelled her into action. They rushed down the stairs, the thudding of their footsteps swallowed by the dense silence. Each step echoed like a warning, the sound of their lives hanging in the balance. Just as they reached the bottom, Mia paused, sensing something off. "Wait," she turned, feeling that prickle down her spine. Was that breathing? Then she saw him, one of the men from before, a figure standing at the far end of the hallway, backlit by the faint light of the exit sign. He moved closer, the glint of a weapon now visible in the dimness. Adrenaline shot through her like ice, freezing her in place. Acting on instinct, she grabbed the boy's arm and pulled him behind a pillar, the cold stone pressed against her back. The boy's breath was quick, shallow as he pressed tightly against her side, and she felt his fear seep into her skin. "I'm sorry," she whispered, not knowing if she was truly apologizing for dragging him into this nightmare, or for the lie she'd made earlier. The figure loomed in the light now, speaking into a radio, his voice low and sharply commanding. "I see them. Movement at the west side," he stated, his words jagged shards cutting through the air. Something kept gnawing at her, a nagging thought that slipped through her mind like sand. "Stay still, don't make a sound," Mia instructed as she peered around their hiding spot. The man was focused, unaware of their presence, but she couldn't shake the feeling that time was slipping away. The boy trembled beside her. "What do we do?" he whispered, voice trembling. "I don't know. We need to find Jason." The words tumbled out, desperate. If only she could reach him. If only she could just run, but her hesitation rippled through both of them. The man turned slightly, the glare of his eyes flashing like a predator spotting its prey. Mia's heart stopped. "Run," she shouted, bursting into motion. They broke free, sprinting to the door on the left, breathless but alive with fear and adrenaline. They stumbled into a slightly larger room, cluttered with furniture and shrouded in shadows that in the chaos. Mia's thoughts scrambled for a plan, but the only thing she could hear was pounding in her ears and the boy's labored breaths. "We can't stay here," she urged, scanning for anything they could use to defend themselves or escape. But then something struck her, a familiar voice echoing faintly, sounding like hope, yet laced with panic. Mia? It was Jason. Jason! She gasped, her heart racing anew. Just as they turned toward the source of the sound, the door they had fled slammed open, reverberating with a force that shook the walls. Mia stared in disbelief. The reality of their impending doom loomed above them. But the moment had come, uncertainty hanging in the air, the walls closing in. They had nowhere else to go. Stay close, she whispered, clutching the boy's hand as adrenaline surged again. But who was coming through that door? Before she could even consider the consequences, the world as she knew it tilted as they faced a new threat. What is next? Is salvation just an illusion? The room erupted in chaos as Mia froze, the world outside that door teetering on the brink of violence. Jason's voice gasped once more, wrapping around her heart like a steadfast anchor. Mia, help! Fear raged through her veins, an undeniable urgency propelling her forward. She refused to let him down. With the boy's hand in hers, she sprinted, the echoes of her footsteps mingling with the pounding of her heart. They rushed through the door into a dim corridor. Each breath felt like a desperate plea, her mind racing with thoughts of Jason, fighting to stay alive somewhere just out of sight, battling whatever had blinded them all to the danger lurking around them. Mia scanned the hall, her eyes darting left and right. She was aware of the looming threat behind whatever was hidden in that room could emerge at any moment. She felt the little boy flinch beside her, and a swell of protectiveness surged through her. Hold on tight, she whispered firmly, squeezing his hand, willing every ounce of courage into the contact. Suddenly, a flash of movement caught her eye. A pair of figures loomed in the distance, shadowy and ominous. Her heart dropped, instinctively urging her to pull the kid closer, shielding him behind her. We need to be quiet, she instructed, even though the very air around them crackled with tension. Where's Jason? The boy whispered anxiously, his terror spilling over into her chest. I don't know. We're going to find him, I promise, she replied, determination firing through her words. As they crept forward, muddled sounds yelling, shouts of confusion, and the distant echo of a police radio filtered through the chaos. Each step felt heavy, as though the weight of the world sat on her young shoulders. But Mia had come too far to turn back. Rounding a corner, she nearly collided with a group of burly security personnel. Their eyes were frantic, scanning for threats, but their mission overshadowed her with fear. Before they noticed her, she ducked into a nearby room, a sterile, white space covered in charts and medical paraphernalia. Gulping in fear, she glanced around. Tables with tools glimmered under the harsh artificial lights. She quickly pushed aside the fear knotting her stomach and moved deeper into the chaos of scattered supplies. We can hide for a minute, she murmured to the boy, who pressed against her side, shaking like a leaf. Just as they hunkered down behind an overturned supply cart, the shouts turned frantic, merging with muffled explosions. Get to the exits. Now, a voice shouted, booming with authority. Mia's heart raced. Was that Jason's voice again? She couldn't bear to be separated from him any longer. Come on, we have to go, she urged urgently, leaving the little boy with a gentle push as she edged towards the doorway. Wait. He glanced at her, panic written all over his face. Stay close, she commanded, determination flaring brighter. Together, they descended into the unknown, dodging the chaos and lost beyond. The hallways twisted into maze-like corridors, and their little feet pounded against the ground, urgency propelling them onward. Finally, they turned a corner and paused. Listen, she whispered, cocking her head, straining to hear past the chaos. A gust of hope turned tangible as Jason's voice broke through. Mia, he called, desperation threading through his call. Her heart soared, a jolt of energy coursing through her limbs. Jason, she cried back, relief flooding her chest like sunlight breaking through a storm cloud. Where are you? Down here. She darted toward the sound, the boy close behind, pushing through an overhead door marked emergency exit. Outside, chaos waited, police lights flashing, the piercing wail of sirens echoing off the walls. But there he was, Jason, slumped against the wall, blood-soaked hospital gown contrasting the sterile atmosphere. Mia's breath caught as she spotted a medic at his side, frantically working under the dim light. "Stop! Get back!" A voice loomed, a man from earlier, eyes wild. "Get to safety." "No." Mia grounded her feet, fueling her resolve. "I'm not leaving him." "Move now," he insisted, but she shook her head, wading through fear and chaos to reach Jason. The medic looked up, urgent but grateful. He in shock hold his hand. Mia plopped down beside Jason, grasping his trembling hand. "Jason, it's me. I'm here." His eyes fluttered open, filled with confusion, but that spark ignited again. "Mia, you came always," she breathed, tears spilling over, relief washing away the dread that clung to her. The world spun around them, sirens blaring, but in that moment, it was just them connected, alive despite the madness. The medic worked quickly, shouts and commands blending into a chaotic rhythm, but all Mia could feel was Jason's hand. "You're going to be okay. We'll figure this out together," she said, squeezing his hand tightly. Gunshots echoed in the distance, shouts filled the air, but she held stronger. Somewhere deep inside her, she felt the knot of their intertwined fate, no longer a silent barrier, but a lifeline binding their hearts. As paramedics moved around them, clarity surged through her. Whatever darkness chased them would be met with their light. It wasn't the end, it was only the beginning of their fight. A bond had formed, a truth revealed in the scattering of chaos. Together, they would rise stronger than the shadows threatening to engulf them. And with that, beneath the chaotic surge of sirens and flashing lights, Mia found hope, a footing to navigate the darkness tethered between them. In that fleeting moment, surrounded by uncertainty, they understood they were never truly alone. You need to subscribe now to our channel so you don't miss out on the next heart-wrenching stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and keep us going with more incredible content. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this shocking conclusion. Let us hear your thoughts. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this thrilling conclusion. True fans, show their support, be part of our community today.